Welcome to Ifa Stories, where ancient wisdom meets modern storytelling. Step into the sacred tradition of Ifa, rooted in Yoruba land and shaped through centuries of interaction with neighboring West African cultures and preserved in the Lukumi tradition of the diaspora. Here we engage the Ifa divination corpus, the sacred Odu through which Òrúnmìlà reveals insight into destiny and moral order, reflected in the lives of Orisha, Irunmole, Awós, communities, and all who seek guidance. These are not distant myths, but living teachings, bridges between past and present, illuminating responsibility, consequence, and the human path. Honor the wisdom. Reflect on destiny. Journey with us into the heart of Ifa. Subscribe and let the stories speak. Learn more at ifastories.com. Introductory note. This retelling draws on a traditional account preserved in Caminos de Ifa, edited by Ernesto Valdez Jain under Proyecto Òrúnmìlà, a collaborative Cuban project dedicated to collecting, comparing, preserving, and publishing Òsha Ifa source materials. The narration, adaptation, and commentary presented here are original to Ifa Stories. Cinematic narrative of Ifa Stories. Title: The Road Where Awó Fare Did Not Attend, to Elegbara. Odù Oyekun Juani. Rezo: Badawa Ifá Oba, Niyere Elegbara. Badawa Ifá Oyekun Juani. Oba Lekun. Elegbara Ifá leye beifa. Ire ashegun etalese Elegbara. Un bati aye. Un bati awó begbo. Un laye Awó Fare. Its prayer meaning may be heard like this: Father of Ifa, Royal One of Niyere, Elegbara, Badawa Ifá, Opener of the Gate, King who opens, King of the doorway, Elegbara of Ifa, who gives life and movement through Ifa. Good fortune, victory, and triumph over opposition are at the feet of Elegbara. He is with the world. He is with the Awó in the sacred bush. He is with the life and the road of Awó Fare. The original rezo is preserved as sacred source speech. This English meaning is provided for narration. Its full liturgical meaning should still be treated with care and reviewed by qualified practitioners and language authorities. This rezo prepares the listener for the heart of the story. It places Elegbara at the doorway. It connects him with Ifa, the road, the Awó, good fortune, victory, and the life of Awó Fare. Before the story begins, Elegbara is already shown as central. What follows is the story of what happens when Awó Fare does not attend to him. This is the road where Awó Fare did not attend to Elegbara. In this story, Obatalá was suffering because of what was happening in the land of Ayare Lekun. In that land lived Awó Fare, but Awó Fare did not attend to what was happening there, and he did not attend to Elegbara. Because of this, Elegbara abandoned him. Elegbara left Awó Fare and went to another land. That other land was the land where Badawa Ifá lived. Badawa Ifá always attended to Elegbara. He gave Elegbara everything he wanted to eat, and in that land, everything was abundant. The story places two lands beside one another. In Ayare Lekun, Awó Fare did not attend to Elegbara. In the other land, Badawa Ifá always attended to him. In one land there was misery. In the other land there was abundance. One day, Obatalá went out onto the road. He carried his agogó, and as he walked, he sang, Baba Ifá nanire, Oshabi, Oshababa. Ifá nanire, Father Ifá carries blessing. The sacred gives birth to the sacred, and through Ifa, the blessing returns to the road. Òrúnmìlà heard the song. He came out. He embraced Obatalá, and he asked him, Father, what is happening to you? Obatalá answered Òrúnmìlà. He told him about all the hardship Awó Fare was going through. He also told him that in the land where Awó Fare lived, there was great misery. Òrúnmìlà was carrying a rooster. He was carrying 7 goats. He was carrying 3 chickens. He was also carrying Eku, Eya, and Awado. Then Òrúnmìlà said to Obatalá, "You will see how we are going to triumph, because Elegbara has never eaten unko, nor akuko, and you will see how we have what is needed to overcome Omo Badawa Ifá." Òrúnmìlà understood what Elegbara had not received. He knew that the correction would require more than words. It would require what Elegbara had never eaten. It would require restoring what had been neglected. They arrived where Awó Fare was. Awó Fare was sad. But when Obatalá and Òrúnmìlà arrived, Awó Fare became happy despite his sadness. They told him, "From today, your land will be great, and nothing will be lacking for you. But in these lands, Akuko and Ounko must never be absent." From that moment, the story gives a clear condition. Awó Fare's land would become great. Nothing would be lacking. But Akuko and Ounko could never be absent there. Awó Fare gave Moforibale to Òrúnmìlà. After this, they left for the land of Badawa Ifá. Each one carried an agogó. And as they traveled, they sang, "Awó Fare Niyere, Ambo Badawa, Aboshire Elegbara Badawa." A cautious working interpretation may be heard like this. Awó Fare is being called into blessing. We are coming toward Badawa. Badawa has served and cared for Elegbara. Elegbara is with Badawa. Elegbara heard this chant. He gave Moforibale to Òrúnmìlà, and he said, "What a delicious smell you bring." Òrúnmìlà answered, "This is food you have never eaten." Elegbara asked, "Well, where is that delicious food?" Obatalá answered, "In the land that you abandoned." Elegbara immediately replied, "Then I am going there with you." They set out on the road, but as they traveled, Òrúnmìlà kept restraining Elegbara. Elegbara kept passing his hand over Òrúnmìlà, and he kept smelling him. Elegbara was very happy. They arrived in the land of Awó Fare. Awó Fare immediately gave Moforibale to Elegbara. Then Elegbara said to him, "I will stay with you in this land, so that you may become greater." The final note says, after 7 days, a goat is to be given to Elegbara. A piece of goat skin is always toasted. Everything Elegbara eats is given to him, and it is distributed in different places. Elegbara must be refreshed with 7 of his herbs, and Obori is named with Obi and Omi Tuto. This final note preserves ritual importance and partial ritual details. It does not provide a complete public ritual manual. Any practical ritual explanation would require source verification and practitioner review. Elegbara returns. Awó Fare gives him Moforibale. Elegbara remains in that land so Awó Fare may become greater. But the story does not close with restoration alone. It leaves behind obligation. Akuko and Ounko must never be absent in that land. The blessing of Elegbara's return must be maintained. The teaching of this story must begin with the actual movement of the narrative. Awó Fare lived in the land of Niyere, but he did not attend to what was happening there, and he did not attend to Elegbara. Because of this, Elegbara abandoned him and went to another land. That other land belonged to Badawa Ifá. Badawa Ifá always attended to Elegbara. He gave Elegbara everything he wanted to eat, and in that land there was abundance. This contrast is the foundation of the story. Awó Fare's land is marked by misery. Badawa Ifá's land is marked by abundance. The difference between the two lands is connected to how Elegbara is treated. The story does not say Elegbara was taken from Awó Fare by force. It does not say he was stolen by another priest. And it does not say he was removed through conflict. The story says Elegbara abandoned Awó Fare because Awó Fare did not attend to him. This makes the cause internal to Awó Fare's responsibility, not external opposition. But the story also shows that Elegbara's return is not caused by apology alone. His return comes through Obatalà's concern, Òrúnmìlà's knowledge, sacred food, song, movement, and a new condition placed upon Awó Fare's land. The actual problem is not only that Awó Fare is suffering. The deeper problem is that Awó Fare does not attend to Elegbara. The source says that Awó Fare did not occupy himself with what was happening in his land, nor with Elegbara. Because of that, Elegbara abandoned him. This gives the story two connected problems. First, Awó Fare is not attending to the condition of his land. Second, Awó Fare is not attending to Elegbara. The misery of the land is therefore connected to a failure of care and responsibility. This should not be turned into a broad claim about every hardship. The story gives one specific sacred situation. In this road, Awó Fare's suffering is connected to his failure to attend to Elegbara. So the correction must address Elegbara directly. Badawa Ifá is not just another character in the story. He is the contrast that reveals the problem. Awó Fare does not attend to Elegbara. Badawa Ifá always attends to Elegbara. Awó Fare's land has misery. Badawa Ifá's land has abundance. Badawa Ifá gives Elegbara everything he wants to eat. That detail is important because the story shows that Elegbara remains where he is cared for, fed, and properly recognized. Without Badawa Ifá, the listener might only see Awó Fare's suffering. With Badawa Ifá, the listener sees the difference between a land where Elegbara is neglected and a land where Elegbara is attended. The story therefore teaches through comparison. It does not only say that Awó Fare failed, it shows what proper attention looks like through Badawa Ifá. Obatalá is the one who feels the suffering of the situation. The story says Obatalá was suffering because of the condition connected to Awó Fare's land. This shows that the misery of the land is not ignored by the sacred powers in the story. Obatalá goes onto the road with his agogó and sings, Baba Ifa Nanire, Oshabi, Oshababa, Ifa Nanire. A cautious working interpretation may be heard like this. Father Ifa is with goodness, Oshabi, Oshababa. Ifa is with goodness. This chant is important because of where it appears in the story. Obatalá is suffering because of Awó Fare's condition. He goes out onto the road carrying his agogó, and he sings. Òrúnmìlà hears the chant. He comes out. He embraces Obatalá, and he asks what is happening. So the chant has a function inside the story. It brings Òrúnmìlà into the matter. The chant does not explain every detail of the problem. Obatalá explains the problem after Òrúnmìlà asks what is wrong. But the chant opens the moment where the suffering can be heard. It carries Obatalá's concern into Òrúnmìlà's attention. It also frames the coming correction under Ifa and goodness. Through this chant, the story moves from hidden suffering to revealed concern. Obatalà's song becomes the bridge between Awó Fare's misery and Òrúnmìlà's correction. Obatalá does not fix the situation alone. He brings the matter to Òrúnmìlà, and Òrúnmìlà understands the correction.
Obatalà's role is therefore one of sacred concern, movement, and witness.
He sees the suffering. He carries it onto the road, and his chant opens the moment where Òrúnmìlà enters the story. Òrúnmìlà's role is central because he understands how Elegbara can be brought back. When Obatalá tells Òrúnmìlà about Awó Fare's suffering, Òrúnmìlà is carrying a rooster, 7 goats, 3 chickens, Eku, Eya, and Awado. He tells Obatalá that they will triumph because Elegbara has never eaten Ounko or Akuko. This is one of the most important details in the story. Òrúnmìlà does not only recognize that Awó Fare is suffering, he recognizes what Elegbara has not received. The correction is not vague, it is specific. Elegbara has never eaten Ounko or Akuko. Òrúnmìlà understands that this missing food can become the means of bringing Elegbara back. This shows Òrúnmìlà's wisdom as practical, ritual, and strategic. He identifies what has been absent, and he uses that missing element to restore Elegbara to the land Awó Fare had lost. Before Òrúnmìlà and Obatalá go to the land of Badawa Ifá, they first arrive where Awó Fare is. Awó Fare is sad, but he becomes happy when they arrive. They tell him, "From today, your land will be great, and nothing will be lacking for you. But in these lands, Akuko and Ounko must never be absent." This moment is very important. Awó Fare receives the promise of restoration before Elegbara returns. But the promise comes with a condition. His land can become great again. Nothing will be lacking. But Akuko and Ounko must never be absent there. This means the correction is not only about bringing Elegbara back once, it is about establishing the condition by which Elegbara's favor and presence can remain. Awó Fare is being taught what must be maintained in his land if he wants Elegbara to remain and support his greatness. Elegbara is not passive in this story. He is not treated like an object that Òrúnmìlà and Obatalá simply move from one land to another. Elegbara acts with awareness. He leaves Awó Fare's land. He remains in the land of Badawa Ifá. He hears the chant. He smells the food. He asks what Òrúnmìlà is carrying. He asks where the food is. He chooses to return to the land he abandoned. He receives Awó Fare's Moforibale, and he promises to remain with Awó Fare so that Awó Fare may become greater. This is important because Elegbara's return is not mechanical. He is not forced back. He is drawn back through song, smell, food, recognition, and Òrúnmìlà's knowledge of what he has never received before. The story shows Elegbara as a sacred force who responds to treatment, attention, food, and proper recognition. Elegbara left because Awó Fare did not attend to him. Elegbara remained with Badawa Ifá because Badawa Ifá cared for him and gave him what he wanted to eat. And Elegbara returned because Òrúnmìlà revealed that Awó Fare's land now had something Elegbara had never eaten before: Ounko and Akuko. So the story is not saying that Elegbara simply follows whoever gives better food. It is showing that food, care, and recognition are part of the sacred relationship. Elegbara responds when the relationship is corrected. After Òrúnmìlà gives Awó Fare the promise and condition, Òrúnmìlà, Obatalá, and the others go toward the land of Badawa Ifá. Each one carries an agogó, and they sing. Awó Fare Niyere, Ambo Badawa, Aboshire Elegbara Badawa. A cautious working interpretation may be heard like this. Awó Fare is being called into blessing. We are coming toward Badawa. Badawa has served and cared for Elegbara. Elegbara is with Badawa. This chant must be understood in relation to the story. It names the 3 points of the conflict: Awó Fare, Badawa, Elegbara. Awó Fare is the one who neglected Elegbara. Badawa Ifá is the one who cared for Elegbara. Elegbara is the sacred force who left one land and remained in the other. The chant gathers the whole story into sound. It draws Elegbara's attention. Elegbara hears the chant. Then he smells what Òrúnmìlà is carrying. He asks about the delicious smell. Òrúnmìlà tells him that it is food he has never eaten. Elegbara asks where the food is, and Obatalá answers that it is in the land he abandoned. This means the chant is not decoration. It helps begin Elegbara's return. It names the relationship that must be corrected. It brings Awó Fare, Badawa, and Elegbara into the same sacred movement. The chant functions as a ritual announcement of correction. It calls attention to the broken relationship, and it prepares the way for Elegbara to return. The food in this story is not a small detail. Òrúnmìlà says that Elegbara has never eaten unko or agogó. This means the correction depends on something Elegbara has not received before. But this detail must be interpreted carefully. The story should not be reduced to the idea that Elegbara simply follows whoever gives better food. The food represents attention, recognition, and proper ritual care. It reveals what was missing in Awó Fare's relationship with Elegbara. Badawa Ifá gave Elegbara what he wanted to eat, and Elegbara remained there. Òrúnmìlà brings what Elegbara had not eaten before, and Elegbara becomes interested in returning. After Elegbara returns, the instruction says that agogó and unko must never be absent in Awó Fare's land. This shows that the food is not only part of the correction, it becomes part of the continuing responsibility. The story begins with neglect. It moves through food, and it ends with obligation. The relationship between Elegbara and Awó Fare must be understood through the story itself. Awó Fare is an Awó, but his title alone does not keep Elegbara with him. His land does not become great because he has status alone. His condition changes when Elegbara is brought back and when the proper requirement is established. Agogó and unko must not be absent in that land. This shows that the Awó's relationship with Elegbara requires attention. In this story, Elegbara is connected to movement, favor, food, response, and the greatness of the land. Awó Fare's road weakens when Elegbara leaves. His land is restored when Elegbara returns. The teaching is not that every person has the same obligation in the same way. Responsibilities differ by lineage, role, consultation, and circumstance. But in this story, Awó Fare's responsibility is clear. He failed to attend to Elegbara, and restoration required that Elegbara be cared for in a specific way. The story uses the name Elegbara. In many Ifa and Orisha contexts, Elegbara is closely connected with Eshu or Elegba, though different traditions may explain and receive this force differently. For this analysis, the focus remains on how the story presents Elegbara as the sacred force whose attention, feeding, and favor affect Awó Fare's land and future greatness. This story gives a specific teaching about priestly responsibility. It does not say that a priest controls every result. It does not say that every problem in a land should be blamed on a priest. And it does not say that every offering creates an immediate outcome. The story is more specific than that. It shows that Awó Fare had a responsibility toward Elegbara and failed to maintain it. That failure affected his land. This is what is meant by specific accountability. The priestly responsibility shown here is not general blame. It is not a statement that priests are responsible for every hardship, every failed result, or every suffering person. It is specific accountability, because the story identifies the exact responsibility that Awó Fare failed to fulfill. He did not attend to Elegbara. Awó Fare's mistake is not that he lacked power to control everything. His mistake is that he neglected the sacred force connected to his own road and land. So the teaching is not, priests are to blame when things go wrong. The teaching is, when a priest has a clear sacred responsibility, that responsibility must not be neglected. This is especially important because the story is about an Awó and Elegbara. The Awó works with divination, sacrifice, roads, messages, correction, and movement between problem and solution. Elegbara is connected to roads, thresholds, offerings, response, and the opening of possibility. Because of that, Awó Fare's neglect of Elegbara affects his road and the condition of his land.
The story teaches accountability, but it must be understood with balance. A priest is not a magician who controls all outcomes. A person's situation may involve many things: personal behavior, timing, destiny, consultation, sacrifice, discipline, community conditions, spiritual factors, and practical life decisions. But when a specific sacred duty belongs to the priest must attend to it. That is the point shown through Awó Fare. The opening rezo should be preserved because it frames the story before the narrative begins. Badawa Ifá, Niyere Elegbara. Badawa Ifá, Òrúnmìlà lekun. Obatalá, Òbá lekun. Elegbara Ifá, leye befa. Ire ashegun, eta lese Elegbara. Òun bati aye. Òun bati Awó begbo. Òun laye Awó Fare. A cautious working interpretation may be heard like this: Father of Ifá, Royal One of Niyere, Elegbara. Badawa Ifá, one connected with the opening of the gate. King who opens, king of the doorway. Elegbara of Ifá, connected with life, movement, and the work of Ifá. Good fortune and victory over opposition stand at the feet of Elegbara. He is present with the world. He is present with the Awó. He is present in the sacred bush, in life, and in the road of Awó Fare. This interpretation should remain cautious because the rezo is preserved in liturgical source language. It should not be treated as a final, literal translation unless reviewed by qualified practitioners and language authorities. Still, the rezo gives important clues about the story. It places Elegbara at the doorway of the narrative. It connects Elegbara with Ifá, the gate, royal authority, good fortune, victory, the world, the Awó, and the road of Awó Fare. This means Elegbara is not a side character. His role is already announced before the story unfolds. The story then proves why this matters. Awó Fare's land suffers when Elegbara leaves. Badawa Ifá's land has abundance while Elegbara is there. And Awó Fare's land becomes capable of greatness again when Elegbara returns. The phrase, "at the feet of Elegbara," is especially important. It suggests that victory, good fortune, and the overcoming of opposition are connected to Elegbara's place in the sacred order of this story. That helps explain why Awó Fare's neglect has serious consequences. If Elegbara is connected to the road, the gate, movement, and victory, then neglecting Elegbara affects more than one private relationship. It affects the condition of Awó Fare's land and his ability to rise again. The final warning is one of the most important parts of the story. Awó Fare's land will become great. Nothing will be lacking. But Akuko and Aunko must never be absent in that land. This means the restoration comes with a condition. Elegbara returns, but the care must continue. The story does not end by saying that everything is fixed forever without responsibility. It ends by giving Awó Fare a requirement that must be maintained. Awó Fare's greatness depends on regaining and maintaining Elegbara's favor. Elegbara returns to the land, but the relationship must not be neglected again. The food that brought Elegbara back must not be absent. The correction must become continuity. The final note continues the ritual frame of the story. It says that after 7 days, a goat is to be given to Elegbara. A piece of goat skin is toasted. Everything Elegbara eats is given to him and distributed in different places. Elegbara must be refreshed with 7 of his herbs, and Obori is named with Obi and Omi Tuto. This note confirms that Elegbara's return is not treated as a single moment only. There is continued attention. There is continued care. There is continued ritual responsibility. Earlier in the story, Awó Fare is told that his land will become great and nothing will be lacking. But Akuko and Aunko must never be absent there. The final note supports that same teaching. Elegbara returns, but he must continue to be attended. The food that draws him back becomes part of the responsibility that keeps the relationship alive. Final teaching. This story teaches through loss, contrast, correction, and return. Awó Fare does not attend to Elegbara, and Elegbara leaves. Badawa Ifá attends to Elegbara, and abundance is found in his land. Obatalá suffers because of Awó Fare's condition and carries the matter toward Òrúnmìlà. Òrúnmìlà understands that Elegbara has never eaten Unko or Akuko. Awó Fare is told that his land will become great again, but Akuko and Unko must never be absent there. Then Òrúnmìlà and Obatalá go to the land of Badawa Ifá. Elegbara hears the chant. He smells the food. He asks where it is, and he returns to the land he abandoned. Awó Fare gives Mofori Bale to Elegbara. Elegbara promises to stay with him so that Awó Fare may become greater. The final teaching is that Awó Fare's greatness depends on regaining and maintaining Elegbara's favor. The story does not end with Elegbara returning only. It ends with the responsibility of keeping Elegbara attended. The food that brings Elegbara back must not be absent. The favor that returns must be cared for. The land that becomes great again must continue to honor the force that made that greatness possible. That is the teaching this story leaves behind.